Hey everybody, so we're here December 21st, first day of winter, and just got out here. Still have to hike in a little bit out here to the place where we're going to be building the camp. A little bit later in the day than I had planned. As you see, it's kind of cloudy. It's been raining for about the last 24 hours or so, and temperatures all day long. And yesterday been in the mid 40s, starting to drop in the lower 40s right now. Anticipated to get down to around 28 degrees or so tonight, possibly changing some of this rain over into snow. So we'll see how it goes. Just wanted to welcome you, and we're going to walk in and see what we can make happen. All right, so we've managed to get back here to the area that we kind of visited in the last short video or walkthrough video, and there's a bunch of, as you can see, I don't know how well you can pick it up, but basically here in front of us it drops down off this spur, but up here on top there's some fairly decent flat area. So I think what we're going to do is, I got a couple beech trees right here. I'm gonna have that either side, kind of trim up the limbs a little bit, have that either side of the shelter, hold it up, tied into that, kind of go back that way with it. Got out here, like I said, a little bit late. I've probably got, maybe 2.5 hours of daylight, 3 hours of daylight. So I think what I'm gonna first do, because I do have a tarp that if I have to, I can sleep under. So my primary focus right now is going to be getting a fire and get some firewood set up. That way I can cook, stay warm, and then if I have to, if I can't get this lean-to done, then I'll work on it tomorrow and sleep under the tarp tonight. But that way I still got some shelter. So we'll see how it goes. We'll drop the pack and kind of go from there. All right, so what I've done is I just kind of cleared off the lower limbs on these two beech trees. Went ahead and did it now so that way after I get the fire, some rocks, I'm gonna go search for some rocks and start getting a fire ring set up. I went ahead and did it so that I wouldn't have to worry about it later as the light starts getting dim. And using, basically, I've brought a couple axes with me. One of them is this Marbles hunter's axe. I've had this for about a year, used it a lot of places. Absolutely great little hatchet, little hand axe. I've also got something I've been talking about, is I've got a longer axe I'll talk about a little bit later. I'm hoping to have to use it. Nothing else tomorrow, I might just play around with it to kind of run it through its courses. Right now though, I'm gonna see if I can't find some rocks around here to build a fire pit. It's been wet enough, like I said, for the last couple days. I don't think I'm gonna have to worry about any of this stuff catching on fire. It is soaking wet out here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that though and get some area cleaned out. I'm not gonna record it simply because I'm running out of daylight. So check back in once I get this going. In this area, once again, as you already know, there's a lot of beech trees here. Up here on this spur, there's also, it's not real, these beech trees aren't real deep rooted trees. So what we're doing is when they blow over, they pull up a lot of dirt with them. And these rocks were all in big dirt mounds, and there's a few of them up here on this ridge where the wind swept across and has uprooted them over years. Some of them have been down for a long time. Found some really good ones, some that are fairly fresh. You can see from the mud. As you can see, kind of got down to a t-shirt. You may hear some water, that's just coming out from where the wind's blowing, but I started getting real sweaty, and I don't want to overheat and get too wet. I do have a sweater I'll put on once I get things put on and not use that hoodie anymore. It's a wool sweater, so it'll do a whole lot better for me. So anyway, I wanted to show you this. Now I'm gonna get started on this. Basically what I'm gonna do is there's a lot of nice straight trees around here, a lot of dead ones that are standing, and a lot of them that are off the ground, even if they've fallen over. So what I'm gonna do is find a good one to go across between these two beech trees as kind of my support, my horizontal support, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'm gonna go out, search for that tree, and I'll be back. Hey everybody, so here's where we're at in the process. It's about a little after 4 o'clock. Starting to lose quite a bit of sunlight. It'll be dark about 5:30, so I'm not too awful concerned right now, but here's where I'm at. We're into a little bit of trouble. I was really wanting to use all natural products in putting this up. I didn't want to use any 550 cord or anything like that. Unfortunately, I made a poor decision, so please learn from this. I got some natural cordage that was just too thin. The tensile strength, I should have known better, was just too thin. So what I've done is this. I had some paracord with me, so I went ahead and on either side, I don't know if I'll show you later, I started wrapping it over here. And so I've got enough paracord that I was able to put it up. Didn't feel real secure about it. So as you can see over here, I've got a brace, which ultimately I'll incorporate into a wall for the purpose of this shelter. But I've got one over here as well. So here's where I'm at, though. I've got shelter to sleep in, so I've got a tarp I can put up. What I'll probably do is attach it to my ridge pole, come down and bring it up underneath me so I'm not sleeping directly on the ground. I do have an air mattress, a thin Alps ultralight air mattress. I'll show you that later. I want to go over some of my gear a little bit later as well. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off on doing that. I need firewood because the temperature is already starting to drop. You can see I put the hoodie back on. I'll put the sweater on later once I'm done getting dirty because I'm getting pretty muddy. It's like I said, it's been raining for a day and a half, 2 days. It's still real wet. But the temperature's starting to drop. I want to make sure I have some firewood. Now there's a lot of wood all around here that is off the ground. It's dead. So what I'm going to do, I've got a saw, I've got my hatchet. I'm going to go and we'll find some, bring it back here, and ideally, we'll see, but ideally, once I split it, the heartwood inside of it should be fairly dry to get things going. There's enough small twigs around here, I think, to be able to get a fire going. So we'll see how it goes. But once again here, let me show you kind of once again where we're at. You'll be able to see a bunch of the wood that is on the ground. So kind of pick the camera up here and see I'm in this beech grove. It's a beautiful area, but you can see right there, there's the dead tree there. It's off the ground, probably a little too dead. I think it's kind of what here in Kentucky what they call doty, kind of mushy log. But you can see down, I don't know how you can see real good down there. You'll be able to see, you can see there's trees down and so forth. And in fact, right here next to me, right in through here, there's trees down, and that's where I'm going to start because, quite frankly, I'm tired of walking up and down this spur, and so we'll kind of see how things go from there. But walk you down a little bit here. You can see once again, lots of dead trees down, blowdowns. There's a nice one right there. See if I can zoom in on that. The other way, let's try that. So there you go. That's a nice one. I ought to be able to cut that up. And my sleeping bag, like I said, I'll show you my gear later, but my sleeping bag is rated down to 17, so there's a bunch of it down through there. So I think even with it getting to 28, I'll be fine tonight, especially with the fire going. So got a little bit tired of squatting everywhere, so I've got my mattress pad out just to sit on, and not that it matters a whole lot, everything's wet anyway. I'm gonna try to get a fire going. I am not going to use a ferro rod. I do have one with me, but everything's so wet, what I'm gonna do is got one of these little fire starters, and here, let me get a little closer. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's see, let me flip that around. So right here, it's basically what it is. People make them all the time. I got a little piece of twine out here, mainly just for me to have something to light. And what I do, and I'll make a video on it sometime. But what I do, I take a toilet paper roll, cardboard, once toilet paper's gone, and I've put some sawdust down in it, pour a little bit of wax, paraffin, put some more in there, pour a little bit of wax, basically fill it up. And what happens, and you want to set it on something, it'll come out the bottom a little bit, but not much. But what it does, it seals itself in. The wax saturates the toilet paper roll, the cardboard, and then basically you let it harden and cut it up into little pieces. So I brought a couple of these with me. So we're going to give this a go. Like I said, it's so wet, figured we'd see what we got. I did find there's not a lot of cedar trees around here, and Kentucky is well known, like a lot of the Southeast, for having eastern red cedars all over the place. So get that saw out of my pocket before I slice my rear end open, the last thing I need. So I did find a cedar, and you can see the boughs behind me. I'm gonna put them down. It's kind of a little barrier between me and the ground, and got some cedar cut up. The obviously cedar works great. Pine's good too, especially if you can get some fat wood. I like cedar because it's, for the most part, except for on this ridge, on this this section of Kentucky, apparently, it's pretty invasive. It's all over the place. So we'll see if we can't get a fire going and kind of go from there. All my twine that I used earlier that was breaking apart on me over here that I talked about, I'm just going to use that to help get this thing going. I'm going to break it up, kind of, not break it up, but fuzz it up, I guess would be the best way for it. I've had some horrible luck this week with my fingers. So Monday, so 5 days ago, I was out hunting and sliced my thumb on this hand open with the back of the tip. Barely even touched it. I didn't realize the knife was so sharp. Then 2 days ago, Wednesday, my hatchet, which is right here, this Marbles hunter's axe I was talking about, I was sharpening it, and I got it nice and sharp because I'm not going to do it, but basically I was sharpening. I like to use a file, and I went too close to it, sliced it open. Today I was burning some, melting some ends to some paracord, some 550 cord, and I went to blow it out, and when I picked it up to blow it, it dropped and fell right here on this finger, and then right here on this finger, and this finger I just left, but man, it burn. This one I decided to flick it off, try to scratch it off. Took about 4 layers of skin with it. So that's what I've been doing. So we're gonna start this fire. Hopefully I'm gonna break up some of these small dead twigs that are around. They're very wet. Even the ones that I've gotten that's been hanging on trees, I may have to go get some more. They're just wet. What are you gonna do though, right? You gotta deal with it. I like building my favorite kind of fire is a lean-to fire. I have no particular reason why. It just seems to do the best for me. So I'm gonna put that log in the back, kind of build my fire up on that. You know, one of the things that I've always thought is, and if you've paid attention to the description in this channel description, it says the outdoors done my way. There are a lot of ways to do things in the outdoors. I do think there are wrong ways, but there is no single right way. And by wrong ways, I mean carelessly, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm gonna throw some of this cedar on there. Hopefully it'll get going. But there's a lot of different ways to do stuff, and the real key is you just want to be very careful with everything. As I sit here with my hatchet, tell you what we're gonna do. I'm wanting to split this open a little bit, so I'm gonna use this Kephart. This is a Condor. It's a Kephart blade made by Condor. I really like it. It's I've used it a lot. If it was flatter, it'd help. Here, we'll just come over here this way. But it's a nice little knife. It holds up really well to all the abuse that I put it under. Fire's still going. It's not doing really well, but once again, it's still going, so I'm keeping an eye on it. But I want to go ahead and get the tarp up. It's just a lightweight tarp. Probably a little small since I hadn't planned on using it as a shelter. I brought it as a just in case. In fact, the main reason I brought it was in case it was still raining when I got here and I needed something to put up to get under temporarily. But I'm glad I have it. So keep blowing on the fire and getting it going. I think we'll be okay with it. But like I said, I wanted to go ahead and get the tarp up. So it's my plan after thinking through it was going to be to attach it here, go down and come back. I don't think it's going to be big enough is the issue. So I've got to figure something else out. Thus, the cedar boughs. It's I went ahead and laid this out just to see what kind of distance I have. I think, so I've got, this is about maybe 3.5 feet, which is more than enough if you're sitting in it. Ultimately it'll go out, kind of come down for a regular lean-to with a wood frame and just putting duff on top of it, all the leaves and stuff. But for tonight, I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and drape it over, use these boughs. I'm probably gonna get cold, but just part of it, I guess. So I think what I'm gonna do is get this up, put it over, at least to have something over me, kind of put myself back a little bit. I'll be a little further away from the fire than I'd like to be, but I think it's fairly safe as far as that goes. So I'm gonna use some twine, tie it off here, go down, and we'll see if I can bring it back and where we're at with that and kind of go from there. So let's see what happens. And we'll keep working the fire too. Trying to put some pieces on it as I go that'll help dry it out close by, so we can start getting bigger pieces on there. Once I get a pretty decent flame going, I'll start bringing some of the bigger pieces and putting it around. Said I don't have near enough firewood to last the night, especially on into tomorrow. And since I didn't bring any other like a backpack stove or anything, if I don't keep a fire going, I'm not going to eat, which I guess would be okay, but that's not really where the position I want to be in. So let's see what we can do. So what's nice about that paraffin fire starter I talked about, as it melts, it'll keep burning. So as long as I've got that fire starter going, I'm for the most part okay. The key is that if it doesn't get going, stay going long enough to get the wood burning, that's where we start running into trouble. Here, let's flip it around so I can see. So I can see what you see. I can see what you see. You may not want to see it. You may not want to see it. The struggle is real. Except for the fact I will say this. My truck is only about half a mile away. No, I won't go to it. That would completely get rid of any of the fun. A part of you wants to get excited when that happens. It may just burn right back down, so let's not get too excited yet. know, it'd be bad if my hair caught on fire. I don't have that much of it up there to be catching, so I don't want to lose what I got. Don't want to lose what I got. All right, so now, see, I don't think we're going to have enough to really do what I wanted to do. So I think what I'm going to do is just use these cedar boughs to separate me from the ground, because they're dry. Then I've got my Alps Mountaineering ultralight mattress pad. I'll air it up, and I'll just toss my sleeping bag out on that, back it up a little bit, a little further up underneath this tarp. I'll pull the tarp back, maybe stake it down in the back, and put some logs or something on top of it to keep it from going too far, and then just deal with it. I'm gonna have a lot of wind coming out of that direction, it seems like, unless it changes. So it'll probably catch the wind, but I think I'll be okay. I'm gonna switch out into a wool sweater that my sweet wife Cindy made for me, and that she she hates for me to wear in public, but this isn't public. I'm in the middle of nowhere, so it's okay, right? So anyway, we're gonna stake this down, try to get it going, pay a little bit closer attention to the fire, and keep going. So we're back, airing up this mattress. Basically, kind of nice. You just open up the valve and let it do its deal. It takes a few minutes though. Then we'll spray out the sleeping bag on it. Changed. I like the insulating comfort of a nice warm wool sweater, especially this one. People have asked me about my hat. You've seen it in my pictures and some other videos. Here's the deal with my hat. It is I picked it up at Boonesboro, which is a state park here in Kentucky, Daniel Boone, and it's recreated fort. And every year they do all kinds of stuff at Boonesboro. It's a really neat place to go. We go quite a bit, but there is a they do a market days in the spring and in the winter. And so about 3 weeks ago, the weekend after Thanksgiving, we went over, and there was a lady there, and that she was selling these, and it was the only one she had, and I really liked it. I've been wanting, some people call them Liberty caps, some people call them Voyager caps, all kinds of names, but basically this one was the only one she had, and I really liked it because I like the color of it, even though, yeah, I have a slight color vision deficiency, but it's hand woven, or hand knitted, I should say. And what's really cool about it is the lady that did it, I didn't get her name, I wish I had, because she also hand spun the wool and she dyed it herself. So that's kind of a neat little story with it. And I tell you what, it is warm. Everybody, so the fire still continues to be an issue. It's not real late, it's only 6 o'clock. See how dark it is. I only had to pull out the old lantern. Thankful I have it. Get some light. Here, I'll show you. The fire basically it's not gone out. It keeps flaring back up. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm going to continue to build it and continue to work with it, because let's face it, you know, fire is important. Fire is important for a lot of reasons. Number one, warmth, even though I honestly think it'd be okay tonight. But I'm not in a survival situation, but if you were in a survival situation, fire gives you a peace of mind. It gives you a mindset, a frame of mind to be able to stay calm. Also, quite frankly, I mentioned earlier, I think it gives you something to do. That's why it's so important. But I'm going to continue to work with it. I'm not too concerned about it for the purposes here. But as you can see, this is real stuff. This is real life things. This is the stuff you're going to encounter if you're going out and experiencing camping in the wild and not having everything taken with you and all that, and just trying to do bare bones. So, still working on the fire. It's only been a couple seconds since I turned the camera off, but what I'm running into, the real key is I don't know if you can see down in there, but let me just see if I can tilt it. I know you can't see me, but to get a good fire going, you really need a foundational, what I call foundation coals, and I'm just not getting that down here in the bottom, primarily because of the moisture, and the sticks that I do need just aren't getting, just not getting it. So part of my issue was I got out here late today. My plan was to be out here about 1 o'clock. I got here after 3. So that's been part of the issue. But you can watch this. As you blow on it, of course the fire comes up and you get a really good good flame going. So it's just a matter of working with it over and over and over. So if you're ever in a situation where you have this, once again, it's just a matter of just staying with it. Don't get discouraged, and just continue to work with the fire, because ultimately, if I work with this long enough, there's going to be a fire, and more than what I have here. But you know, one of the things, one time I was going through a I was in the work for the Boy Scouts. I was going through a program, and I had to stay awake all night and keep a fire going. And you think, wow, staying awake all night long, that would be rough. Well, you're keeping a fire going. So you know, you sit there, and it was one of the most reflective times I've ever had, staying up literally. You got out about 9, 10 o'clock, stayed there until about 6 in the morning, and just building a fire, just keeping it going getting wood and bringing it back, it was a real reflective time. But it also gave you, once again, it gives you something to do to be able to stay awake. You can see I'm starting to get some stuff going here. It's just a matter of sticking with it. So once again, if you're ever in the situation, even if you've got wet wood all over the place, and if you're in a situation where you're not choosing to be there like I have, I've chosen to be here. But if you're in that situation, that position, once again, just don't give up, don't get discouraged, just stay at it. We're going to stay at it. We're going to get us a fire going before you know it, or before, well, until I decide to give up and go to bed. I just want to share it with you. I don't know. Nice hot tea. I don't think you can see it. Got a nice boil going there. I'm gonna put it back on there. What I'm gonna do, turn this lamp off. Where's my lantern? So, it's starting to rain and snow. I'm gonna get this off the fire and get the fire stoked back up, and kind of go from there. Looking forward to some hot tea. Can't see it real well, but cheers. Here, let's pick the light up a little bit. Cheers, everybody. They take that off. I do have a headlamp, so yes, I've got more than just this, but this is, I don't know if y'all can hear, it's a little bit of rain, and like I said, there's some snow in that too, but this will do a body good. Oh yeah, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh man, that'll right warm you up, buddy. Well, it's the first day of winter. What a way to spend it. In the woods, the wet woods, on the longest night of the year. It struck me a few minutes ago that this was the longest night of the year. I tell you what, a little fire going, shelter over your head, and a kuksa full of tea. Not too bad. Not a bad way to welcome in the winter. Just something about a fire on a cold night like this. I tell you what. I walked off, did a little hiking around here at night, just to kind of go for a little walk. and it's amazing how cold it is. But when you get back here, that rock with that reflecting that fire back sitting here, even with the wind blowing through periodically, it's doesn't really feel all that cold here. But definitely a good night to be out here in God's creation. And that's one thing I enjoy about this, is I talked earlier about that night where I was up keeping the fire going, how reflective it is. Something about being out here alone gives you an opportunity to really reflect, to pray, talk to God. And I think more importantly, listen to Him talk. That's what I really enjoy about this. I decided to tell you a story, but real quick before I turn in. So my wife hates me to tell this story. She thinks it's sad, but this seems like a good night to tell it. So anyway, well, I need to get me a little hook up there. That's what I need. Anyway, I was about 10 and a half years old or so, and probably not, yeah, probably 10 and a half, something like that. I just joined the Boy Scouts. And I had never been on a camp out in my entire life. And so first camp out was actually a wintertime camp out. And I had nothing, absolutely nothing. I presumed they provided all the equipment, and they would have if they had known I needed it. However, I didn't tell anybody that I needed it. So I'll never forget going out. I had a good time setting up camp and everything. We were sleeping 2 people to a tent, and it was the old canvas army tents, those old green tents, that the pup tents, they snapped together down the center. And we had just big pieces of plastic as a ground cloth. And I guess not really ground cloth, but you know what I mean. And so anyway, I didn't have a sleeping bag. I had no pad, nothing. And I don't know what it got down to, but I was freezing my butt off. They didn't have any extra sleeping bags or anything like that. I can't remember after this many years if anyone ever knew at the time. Obviously, my tent mate knew it. I don't know if he ever told anybody or not. I can't remember. But it was a 2-night camp out, and both nights I was so cold. I had my coat, and that was it. And I curled up in the fetal position on this plastic ground cloth in this army pup tent on the side of it, and went to sleep. And I cannot believe that I continued doing it. You know, you would think that would have ruined it for me, but here I am, 35 years later or so, and I don't even have a pup tent. What I do have is a fire. I have a sleeping bag, have a mat, have a shelter, and honestly, I'm pretty warm. But I was sitting here changing my socks and thinking about that, thinking about how things have happened over the years. And I don't look at that as a sad thought. My wife and son hate to hear this story. I don't mind telling it. I don't see it. I'm not trying to tell it as a sad thing, but it's I've done a lot of camping over the years, a lot of stuff like this right here, and that's one camp out that will always stand out in my mind. And I don't. It didn't snow while we were out there, and I don't remember the exact time of year. I just remember it was cold, so very, very cold. I'm wanting to say it was around December, so about this time of the year, maybe a little bit earlier. I don't remember exactly, like I said, but yeah. And now here I am, 30 degrees, but once again, loving it. We'll see you in the morning. Yeah, overall it was a successful camp.
except for the coyotes waking me up at 4 a.m. That was a little unnerving. I mean, they ain't gonna mess with you, especially if you got a fire going. But it's still not. It's still a little disconcerting being in the dark, and you can't see in the dark. Although I will say this: most of the night, I could see really well. And I know the moon was 95% full, or no, it's probably more than that, 99% full last night. Full moon comes in today around midday. But there was so much cloud cover, I'm presuming that the brightness of the moon was just coming through and lighting those clouds up, because you couldn't see the moon, you couldn't see any stars. It was just real cloudy like it is now. Fog would roll in periodically throughout the middle of the night, so it was kind of neat. You could see enough in the woods where you could see that coming in. Did start raining a little bit, but it was real brief. And at one time, I woke up and I thought there was snow on the ground, but there wasn't. So, so what's for breakfast? Well, I'll kind of fill you in a little bit better on breakfast as I get ready to make it. But basically, I'm gonna make me some coffee once this pot's going, and we're nowhere close to it being ready. There we go. But so we're gonna, once this gets going, I may move it around a little bit, get it over on them coals, now that I've got a decent little foundation going. Then I'm gonna have some Mountain House breakfast. I'm gonna have some, make it real quick and easy, biscuits and gravy. And I don't know if you've ever had the Mountain House biscuits and gravy, but it's actually pretty good. I would have been a little bit more concerned about it first time I had it, but having never had the biscuits and gravy, you know, you're rehydrating it. How good could it really be? But it actually was pretty good. It's breakfast time. Come on over here, my friends. So I did end up making a little pot of coffee. I figured I'd have another cup before one or two cups before I leave. So we're gonna open this up, and I won't show it to you. Well, here, I'll show it to you. I don't know if you can see it or not. We'll stir it up and dig into it. I've had this before, so I know how good it is. I did get it a little too watery, but that's okay. It's not that bad. Excellent. Whew. That's good stuff. Coffee's ready. Letting the fire die down. Still probably another cup in there, so I'll probably have one more before I leave. If not, I'll use it to douse the fire. I know there are people out there who are really upset at me right now because I just talked about using coffee to douse the fire out. I apologize. As a coffee lover, that should have never come out of my mouth. Well, so anyway, just been breaking down camp a little bit. Still got to take the tarp down. I've already got the sleeping bag and my mat put up, and going to start packing stuff up and getting things ready to go. After I finish this cup of coffee, I'll probably have one more cup, and then we'll call it a day. It's a good night. It's a good trip. Something I really needed, I think. They learned some things. I hope you learned some things. That. I've said it before. You'll probably hear me say it 1,000 times. I'm bad about repeating myself sometimes, but I think that's the reason that I want to do this stuff. I like to teach people and let you learn. And in some cases, it's learning from my own mistakes. In the last video, when we came out here and scouted around a little bit, I was actually down a little bit. I can see that deer skull from here. It's probably, oh, I don't know, it might be another 20 yards away. It's not that far. And I talked about this being a place to experiment and to experience outdoor skills, primitive living, that kind of stuff. That's what we're here to do together. And I hope you enjoy what we do, enjoy what we do together, enjoy what I do. Value your comments. I value your input and your insight. So let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Also, once again, I ask that you and not just comment, but also like the video, share the video, let people know about it. There's going to be a lot more coming, and in the future, over the years, I've already got some things planned out on some stuff I want to do coming up here pretty soon, outside of just the gear reviews. Another overnight trip that I'm wanting to do. I might be back here working on the lean-to. I haven't decided that yet, but I've kind of got some things going in my mind. And also ask that you subscribe to the channel. You can do that by clicking subscribe down below, or if it's not there yet, over here on my left, they'll pop up my picture. Just click that and subscribe. Also, a former video will be over here on the right, on my right, that you can watch. But once again, please like, share, subscribe. Let all your friends know about it. We'll see you next time here at camp.